B321.
Madam Speaker, the honourable member is aware, and indeed the whole population, the previous government left us with a disastrous fiscal position. Public finances were in a mess, and they had left the country with a public debt of nearly 90% of GDP and a budget deficit of 9.3% of GDP. The economy had thus been irresponsibly managed over the past decade. Both the IMF and the World Bank had sounded the alarm on the imperative of reforming our pension system years back. In its report in 2015 entitled Pension Reforms in Mauritius, Fair and Fast, Balancing Social Protection and Fiscal Sustainability, the IMF stated that the reform of our pension system was now necessary and unavoidable. Moody's was on the verge of downgrading Mauritius to junk status. As Minister responsible for finance, I promptly took decisive measures in my very first budget to address and correct the situation. We are, Madam Speaker, among the very few countries in the world, if not probably the only one, where the eligibility age for the BRP, which I want to emphasize, is a non-contributory pension, is lower than the normal retirement age. I don't think in any other country this happens, it has been 65 years since 2018. Furthermore, the costs of the BRP had become increasingly unsustainable, the words that are used in the various reports. It had increased from 1.9% of GDP in 2010 to 7.8% of GDP in 2024-2025. Similarly, the percentage of BRP expenditure in government recurrent expenditure increased from 9.6% in 2010 to 14.2% in 2015-16 and further to 24.5% in 2024-2025. These figures clearly illustrate the growing fiscal pressure on public finances. Without reforms, expenditure on the BRP would have been unsustainable. The situation is such that without reform, we risk a future where there will be no pension for any person who is retiring, neither today or tomorrow. In addition, this significantly constrains our fiscal space, thereby limiting our ability to allocate adequate resources in health, education, and housing, which are vital for our long-term social and economic development. Government therefore took a decisive action to address the issue in order to ensure a strong and reliable pension system for generations to come. Madam Speaker, if no action would have been taken by this government, it would have been impossible to sustain our welfare state, as the cost of BRP would have reached 100 billion rupees in 2035. The actual figure for BRP was 55.3 billion for financial year 2024-2025. That is, if you look at it, more than the budget for health, which is 17.2 billion, more than the budget for education, which is 19.4 billion, more than the budget for housing, which is 2.2 billion, and also for the police services, which are 12.6 million. I think these figures speak for themselves. Accordingly, we have decided to gradually increase the eligibility age for BRP from 60 to 65. I want to point out that it is a gradual increase. And those who have turned 60 before the budget, they're still getting the pension at the age of 60. That is over a period. We're starting this gradual process from 1st of September 2025. I wish to remind the House that with a view to avoiding sudden hardship for our elderly who are impacted by the reform and protecting the vulnerable groups, including low-income earners, government set up 2 interministerial committees to look into the matter. In the interest of time and expediency, the committee was subsequently merged. The committee had studied and assessed the impact of the pension reform with a view to come up with various options and possibilities to support those affected by the reform, particularly the poor and the vulnerable groups. On this basis, 2 main measures were proposed by the committee. The first measure was the implementation of an income support through the MRA to all those who are no longer eligible for BRP, provided that for a single individual, his or her monthly income does not exceed 10,000 rupees, and for a couple, it does not exceed 20,000 rupees. This support aims at covering a range of beneficiaries, including housewives, retirees, employees, and self-employed persons who rely mainly on the BRP instead of focusing only on persons in sectors with difficult conditions. We looked at that, but we decided to do it that way. The monthly income support was set on 10,000 rupees in September of 2025. It has now been increased to 10,370 rupees in January 2026. That is, full compensation was given to the loss in purchasing power due to inflation. The second measure provides for the beneficiaries of basic invalidity pension, the basic widow's pension, and the invalidity allowance who turn 60 years of age to continue to receive the respective pensions until they qualify for the BRP. Madam Speaker, as the House is aware, government has also set up a commission of experts on pension reform in September of last year. They were to look at the pension system globally and make recommendations to reform the three pillars of our pension system, including the pillar one, that is the basic retirement pension. As regard to the next budget, the Honourable Member will understand I cannot reveal the policy measures now, but I will be announcing them in the budget.
Thank you. Yes, one question.
Je vous remercie. Je ne demandais pas les policy measures qui seront prises dans le prochain budget. Ma question concernait précisément si une étude de l'impact socio-économique de la réforme a été faite avant le budget qui arrive.
I can't say it was a thorough study because there was a question of time, but we're still going on doing this to check what in fact will be the impact.
Okay. Deuxième.
Checking this impact? The committee?
This is done by the Ministry of Finance and also in conjunction with the Social Security Ministry.
Okay. Next question, Dr. Umia.
B322, please.
Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 1st of January 2023 to the 10th of April 2026, 108 drug seizures were carried out at the seaport and 151 at the airport. 3 police officers posted at the airport were arrested in connection with the drug cases. These police officers are currently in detention and have been interdicted pursuant to Regulation 28 of the Disciplined Forces Service Commission regulations. In regard to Part B of the question, prior to posting of police officers at strategic entry points, a thorough screening and due diligence exercise is carried out on the officers. After the posting of the police officers, their conduct is constantly monitored by the officer in charge to ascertain that they maintain the professional standards required in the exercise of their duties at all times. Rotation of police officers is carried out on a need basis to preserve the integrity of the different departments. Training is also dispensed to the police officers on matters pertaining to discipline and integrity.